Hello there, friends. Welcome back to the channel, and to any new subscribers, welcome to the channel. And I want to get right out there and just get to the point here on this. It's a really crucial time for people to see each other as human beings, not as rivals, enemies, traitors. I'm talking to everybody who points the finger at other people. I do it too. We all do it. We all have opinions about what we think is right and what we think is wrong. There tends to be a general agreement that certain things are absolutely horribly wrong and other things are right, but they're not a universal consensus. I mean, for example, even though most of us agree that abuse and harming other people is wrong, there are people who are protected that have done those things, and there's nothing that we as citizens can do about it, except just know in our hearts what's right and what's wrong, and know when we're being lied to. And this goes so far beyond what you're probably thinking I'm referring to. I know that in the minds of many Americans, you think I'm talking about Trump. To some extent, he will come up no matter what because he's the president. But this goes much deeper than that. This is a systemic issue that has been ongoing for at least a decade now, that I've watched unfolding. And in the back of my mind, I've always known this little kernel of truth that I've learned. Well, in my mind, it's the truth, but I've learned through all my studies of history, all my studies of the present, my little minute, little ignorant corner of the world. The research that I've done, which is just a little tiny grain of sand in a fucking beach, okay? I don't pretend to be wise and know everything. I just pretend to know enough to get me by, right? And I do not tie myself to ideas. So to make it clear, I don't have a political party. I do have things that I think are right and wrong, but this isn't about any of that. This is about American citizens right now looking at each other and saying, we have more in common than we have in difference. And I've said this before, and I'm going to keep harping on it. You know, no matter how many times I have to bring this topic up, we're at a time right now where people are very careful about what they say. Most people. And then there is a small, percentage of people who they say the things that other people don't want to say because it draws attention and everybody can gather around them. These would be the pundits, the online personalities. And I'm going to do my best here. I'm just not going to talk about anybody specifically because it doesn't matter. They are cringe on every side of the spectrum. I agree with a little bit of everything everybody has to say, disagree with a lot of what some people have to say. But overall, what I'm trying to read is what are the intentions of human beings, the intentions of individuals, the intentions of groups. And I know a lot of people believe that folks don't change, but they do. They do. They change and they think up new ideas, they rethink ideas, they get, um, perhaps a little kernel of truth that is just planted like a seed in our minds. And over the years, if it's fertile, it'll grow. And then you start to understand, you start to see how and why people do the things they do. And you come to the conclusion that the intention is what matters. But even then, you have to go a step further and say, it doesn't really matter if a person intends to do good for the world if they have bad ideas. And so we have we have a continual battle of ideas. What's good? What's bad? Who's right? Who's wrong? And honestly, I'm fucking tired of it. I think we all are. Honestly, at this point, I don't give a shit what's going on in political leaders' lives. I don't care I'm trying to tread lightly here and be careful, because I have no intention to divide my subscribers. But this isn't about views or losing subscribers. It's the opposite, the exact opposite. My only intention in talking about these things is to bring people together. Sometimes I do a horrible fucking job at it. Like, I'll sit here and I'll end up complaining about, politics. And I was like, no, that's not my goal. That's what the other channel's for. And I was going to make this video for my other channel, but I said, no, I want to bring this to my subscribers to say, look, like I went down yesterday and I walked down to the waterfall to watch the salmon spawning, and there was this one guy, just one other person there, this huge area, right? And we kind of nodded and walked past each other, and I went down and sat by the water and just kind of meditated for a little bit. And then I walked back up the rock, and he was like sitting against a log, and I walked up and talked to him. He seemed kind of surprised, like, it's just people are just so isolated from one another. And I was like, how's it going? I was like, you seeing any jumpers? He's like, no, not today. He's like, but last time I was here, I saw there were like hundreds of them. Talking about the salmon climbing up the waterfall. That's what I was there for. And anyway, this guy, I could tell by the way he talked, and I'm not trying to make assumptions about people, but I could tell that this guy looked like he might be kind of I want to say he looked like he might be a conservative. And that sounds pretty ignorant, I know. But let's just say the point I'm trying to make isn't that I'm judging him as being a conservative, but rather because he was kind of surprised I came up to him, and I could tell because I was dressed down. I had this hat, my hippie sewn hippie hat, where it's all patchwork. It's got Grateful Dead on it, and then I had my poncho that's all bright, like native Navajo design, so it's super bright colors, and it's like this poncho I made myself that's all tied in the back. I've got necklaces on, my camera, and my bags. And I'm just like, yeah, we started. The minute I started talking to him, he just reached out and handed me a fucking weed pen, like he was just sitting there hitting his pen. And we talked for a few minutes, and I was like, right on, man. I'm gonna head over here. I'm gonna go over and look at the spawning bed, because further down there's a bunch of gravel beds. And he's like, right on, have a good day. And we left, and we parted ways. And it may seem like just kind of a meaningless moment, but I think that anybody in today's world, you understand what I'm getting at here. Just go up and talk to people and introduce yourself to strangers, put yourself in kind of awkward situations, and you'll find that most people want to be friendly, they want to be kind, they want to help, they want to be nice. Like, we're just so reserved and withdrawn, and I have to say, it is 100% due to the algorithm. I mean, there was a time, even 5 years ago, I would say, no, it's not, it's not just the internet, it's people. Within the last couple of years, the algorithms are so specifically designed. I'll just tell you this, years ago when I signed up for Google, I have I think 2 different accounts, because one I use for my other channel, so I have to sign into my other account when I use my other channel. And of course, you're well aware that when I go to my other channel, my YouTube channel is completely different. Every video is different. I have a third channel that's for my homestead, and that's the one I used to use for carpentry. All I get are videos about carpentry, growing plants and trees. Some are helping out to just cultural things that are all positive. And I think, okay, it's not just that social media pushes all this negativity on us, right? I know that we like to blame them because we don't know how the algorithms work. But I'll tell you this, they aren't pushed on you unless you're seeking them out. It's just that we have a guilty pleasure of seeking out conflict and what's going on. And there's so much division. There's so many points, probably 100 points that I'm just dying to talk about right now. Everything from, what's going on in Portland, to what's going on in Chicago, to, the fact that the president doubted free speech, said he had eliminated free speech for flag burning or something, and just how ridiculous everything is right now. And how I understand why people feel the way they feel on so many different sides. I just want to find a way to bring all these people together and say, what do we really want? Why are these people angry, right? Why are these people hostile towards the flag? It's not because they hate where they live. It's because they hate the fucking government that runs it, right? And these have all been settled in court. And I'm going to leave all this for the video I'm going to do after this, which will be on my other channel. So you can check them out if you want. It's on Philo Veritas. If you need the link, I'll try to leave it. Anyway, as far as this one, I just really want to bring people together. And even in the political videos I do on my other channel, it's to bring people to at least together or to an understanding. There are some people you just cannot reach. There are some people out there who honestly don't care about numbers. They don't care about facts or figures. They don't even care about a discussion. They just want to blame other people for their problems, or, scream about how great their guy is because everybody wants to be on a team. And I understand that. Hell, I've seen what happens after a soccer game or soccer team loses or wins, and it's human nature, right? Humans want to react to something. They want to team up on something. So what we've got to do is realize that we have that energy and we can use it together as a whole. There is nothing that scares power more than a well-organized, thoughtful, and educated society. And that's why it's falling by the wayside. And we can do better. And this is why I'm leaving on a message of hope. I was trying to think of a metaphor earlier, and I just didn't really spend any time on it, but I just thought, think of it like a remodel, a house remodel. I'm a carpenter. You come up to a house, it looks okay, it's doing all right. But eventually everything's just going to fall apart. You're just nickel and diming it here, putting up this and that, putting a new window in, new siding. Finally, you're like, all right, what if we strip this thing down to the bones and rebuild it? It could stay for so much longer, fix all the problems, the leaks. And that, in the mind of a lot of Americans, is what we're doing right now to America, right? Strip it for parts, but rebuild something better. The problem is that not everybody intends to build something better. Not everybody has good intentions to make this country fair and fit for everyone. And so when we strip it down, the reason people are okay with that is because sometimes you do need to start over. I understand that. But here's the thing, it looks very ugly when a house is stripped down. All the parts laying around and stacked up, garbage piles and dumpsters. We're at the dumpster phase right now. We're hauling shit away. But let's just hope that we have enough fucking gusto to rebuild something better. And I don't need to have faith in the government to do it. You and me can do it. We start locally, knocking down fences, building gardens when things get tough, small little things that we can do, planting guerrilla farming and planting food forests. These are things that cities have made illegal. People are getting fined and charged and for setting up gardens in their own neighborhoods, right? There are places where you're not even allowed to grow food in your own yard because it's beautification, makes the lawn look bad. We have to change the way that we think, that's all. We have to move into a future where we're more sustainable, where we care more about each other, and because we all have enough, and we're not all stressed out and worried because billionaires are becoming trillionaires and somehow we still worship them. Something I've never understood, but I'm not going to try to change how people think. I have no intention of doing so. But like everyone else, I would like to influence people to see the light and see at least connection between each other. Not see it my way, but see it all of our way, to where everyone is included in our thoughts. That no matter what opinion we have, we remember we are humanists first. We should be, anyway, in my opinion. Because otherwise, what's life worth? If we can sacrifice a culture so we can have beachfront property, or, allow, a minority class to be harassed because it makes us uncomfortable that they're around, or we believe some statistic we know nothing about, or maybe for a true reason, maybe there is a problem. But honestly, I believe in reciprocation in all ways. somebody's done no harm should become, come to them. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. I just needed to get that out, and hopefully that comes across as positive as possible. Because, all we got is each other. That's really all we've got. We're stronger together. We know this. Family, community. We can extend that to other communities, other cities. Boy, even other states. Wouldn't you know it? Peace and love. I'll talk to you next time.